3 or 4 minutes. But it may only have been 60 seconds or 90 seconds, but he was just there. But the impression was his mind was somewhere else, and I had an impression he was 1,000,000 miles away, and he just stood there, and I learned afterwards that he had the feature of bilocation, and he could be in 2 places at one time, and he seemed to be just out of this world. And I thought at the time you could have shot off a 155mm cannon in that place and he wouldn't have hurt it. I mean, he was just so concentrated on where he was looking up that nothing but, and then he kind of like shook his head, and then he genuflected, and then he did the same thing with the chalice as he lifted it up. He just stood there and didn't move, and he just held that, and I watched him again, and I was, I could just see him. I was less than around 8 or 10 feet from him here, and he didn't blink, and the same thing. And then we genuflected and went on with the mass, and he didn't give out communion, and there was no homily, as I said. And then after the mass was over, the chaplain's assistant took us up. They said, well, you can go and buy some rosary beads and he'll bless them for you. So I went over and bought, I think, 3 pair of them or something like that from my mother and a couple of people. And we went back into this sacristy. And he said, he'll bless them. And we knelt down, and he was taking off his vestments. And we knelt down and held the beads in our hands like that. And he came down and put his hand on each one. And I was the last one in line. And as he came down, he put his hand on, and I could see the stigmata that he had on the back of his hand. And it looked like a big prune plum. I mean, it was kind of ugly in a way, kind of all red and blue, and kind of rough, and but it was very pronounced. And then he blessed them, and then he went, and I was the last one in line, and he went over and rubbed my head. And I could see the other side of his hand, and it was the same way, a real, all blue and rough and everything like that. And we were required, well, we were gently urged to have GI haircuts in case you had an accident. They could, it was easier to go and treat you. You didn't have to cut off your hair. So, and also for cleanliness, that we wore our hair about a ½ inch long. And he rubbed my head, and I really didn't know much about him at all, or anything about him. And I heard later on who he was, and always prayed to him. But he was someone that I would never forget.
Right. All right. Well, thank you. That's it.
Okay, Laura.
Thank you.